You don't need an introduction to recognize it. The buses, the colors, the parks. For many Nigerians, this mass transit is not just a transport company, it's a memory. It's as popular as Suya in Nigeria. Everybody knows the name. It's the bus people took to write exams, the one that carried them to job interviews, to weddings, funerals, to meetings that quietly shaped their future. For many in the diaspora today, it carries an even deeper meaning and feeling of nostalgia. It was the bus that took them to that life-changing visa interview, the journey that opened the door to a new country, a new life, a new chapter. Long before flights felt reachable, before air travel became the dream, there was space mass transit. Dependable, familiar, trusted. And yet, for something so present in our lives, very few people know the story behind it. We recognize the buses, we trust the brand, but the man who built it, his name rarely comes up. His journey is almost invisible. And maybe that's because his story doesn't fit the kind of success narratives we are used to seeing today. Most success stories feel rushed, too fast, too clean, seem too perfect. One day, the person is struggling. Next day, everything has changed. But real life rarely moves like that. This is not about blowing, it's about becoming. It's about a Nigerian man who didn't go viral, didn't trend, didn't catch lucky breaks. A Nigerian story, and it begins with one Nsukka boy just trying to survive. His name is Sam Onyishi. Born in Nsukka, Enugu State in November 1963. Life wasn't soft from the jump. His father worked as a bricklayer at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a man holding the family together with pure sweat and strength. Then one day in 1977, everything collapsed. His father slumped and never got back up. Sam was just 13. Up until then, he had a dream, a big one. He wanted to become a lawyer. And with the university literally next door, that dream didn't feel far-fetched. It was possible. With his father gone and a mother who was a full-time housewife, university dreams quickly turned into survival mode. School became a struggle. Life became pressure. Overnight, he stopped being just a child. He became the man of the house. He later said that poverty was everywhere. Food was scarce. Money was non-existent. The only thing they had in abundance was air, and thankfully, that one was still free. With nothing else to hold on to, the family turned fully to faith. Church became home. Prayer became routine. Fasting became normal day after day. Fasting and prayer. Prayer and fasting. He jokes now that sometimes he wondered if they were truly spiritual or if his mom was just creatively avoiding feeding everyone. Either way, something worked. Because even when money couldn't stretch, hope somehow did. Due to lack of funds, Sam had to leave his formal school and move to community secondary school. Life there was rough. While other students had multiple uniforms, he had just one. He washed it on Saturdays, wore it from Monday to Wednesdays, and then by Thursday and Friday, things got tricky. So to avoid morning assembly, when the uniforms was too dirty, he arrived early and hide until it was over, only to see get punished for coming late. That wasn't even the worst part. Hunger was constant. So he climbed mango trees, cashew trees, anything with fruits. He ate some, sold some, and used it to survive, adding it to whatever little pocket money his mom could manage. No shortcuts, no soft landing, just resilience, faith, and a boy forced to grow up way too early, and this was only the beginning. After secondary school, Sam qualified to work as an auxiliary teacher. It should have been his way forward. But there was a problem, a small one, yet decisive. To collect his appointment letter, he needed to bribe a messenger to allow him to collect his appointment letter. He didn't have it. Others who were less qualified got the job. That moment introduced him very early to how systems sometimes work. The disappointment was deep. He thought seriously about tearing his school certificate. Education at that moment felt useless. What stopped him was his mother. In his own words, "I was so fed up with education that I contemplated tearing my school certificate to pieces so as to forget all about academics. But on a second thought, however, I remembered the sufferings and the sacrifices my mother went through for me to go to school, so I decided to hand over the certificate to her and leave to search for what to do with my life." With 200 naira, Sam left home and traveled to Enugu searching for work. He failed. There was no job waiting. No miracle. He returned home, discouraged, but still standing. Back in Nsukka, Sam did whatever work he could find. There was no pride in it, just survival. He pushed wheelbarrows. He worked as a bus conductor, shouting destinations from morning till evening. Anything that put food on the table, he did it. He learned a trade, but couldn't afford the tools to start on his own. So even skill wasn't enough. At some point, he tried something completely different: songwriting. A producer showed interest for a moment. It felt like a door had opened. Then it slammed shut. The producer was detained politically. The record never came out. Another effort, another dead end. Frustrated and relentless, Sam decided to leave the Southeast entirely. He traveled north to Kaduna State, working as a laborer. But even there, things didn't last. His wages weren't fully paid. So he left. Not because he was proud, but because he was slowly learning something important. His labor still had value. For the second time, he returned to Nsukka. Still searching, still uncertain, still refusing to give up. Then something small but life-changing happened. The University of Nigeria paid compensation to members of the Nsukka host community. Sam's mother received 1,200 naira. She gave all of it to him. That money became his turning point. Sam returned to the north, not to labor this time, but to trade. He started with second-hand clothes, then moved into motor spare parts. Slowly, something shifted. By 1989, he had saved 12,000 naira, enough to open his first spare parts shop. For the first time in a long while, life stopped collapsing. It wasn't success yet, but it was stability. And sometimes that's all the road less taken gives you at first. Just enough ground to stand on before it asks you to keep walking. By 1994, Sam has saved 260,000 naira. To many people around him, this was enough. Business was moving, life was improving. But Sam made a decision that surprised people. He returned back to school. Friends questioned him, some mocked him, others warned him. Why leave business for education? Why now? At some point, while studying, he clocked something most students don't. He had time, like a lot of it. Going to lectures and then going home just to exist didn't make sense to him. Scrolling, wasting hours, nah. So he did something different. He dipped into his savings, bought a couple of buses, and decided to stay busy on purpose. His days were stacked. Lectures? Done. After class, he was driving his bus. Morning lectures, evening lectures, it didn't matter. He always found time to hustle in between. And slowly, the money started adding up. With what he earned from driving, plus the income from his shop back in Kano, he reinvested. One bus turned into more. By his third year, around 1998, he already had 15 buses. At that point, he stopped driving himself and started running his business. By the time he graduated in 1999, school was basically a chapter he had closed. The real focus? Transport. And when he finally left university, the numbers were wild. 45 buses. Of course, people had opinions. Fellow students talked. Some lecturers judged. But he wasn't listening. He knew why he was there. Validation wasn't on the agenda. Everyone else was doing their thing, and he was doing his. He didn't come to school to impress anybody. He left his family and business in Kano for a reason. And he stayed locked in on that mission. Back then, he wasn't dreaming of becoming some big transport boss. He was just trying to survive, stay afloat, and handle his responsibilities while in school. But life be like that. You make plans, and God edits the script. At some point, the numbers forced a hard truth. What Sam had built in Nsukka had quietly grown bigger than everything he left behind in Kano. And that meant a decision had to be made. For years, he believed school was just a pause. That after graduation, he would return north and continue life as usual. But when he finally looked at it clearly, the reality was undeniable. Transport wasn't a side hustle anymore. So he did something most people avoided. Sam shut down his spare parts business in Kano and committed fully to transport. That was the real turning point. This wasn't ambition anymore. It was direction. He initially named the company Nsukka Mass Transit, working with the local council. But when the agreement was broken and a confusingly similar operator was approved, Sam didn't fight noise with noise. He walked away. He rebranded and he returned stronger. That decision gave birth to Peace Mass Transit as we all know today. At the time, private transport parks were almost unheard of. Yet, Peace Mass Transit went on to secure its own parks across major cities. What sounded impossible began to look inevitable. Bus by bus, route by route, city by city. Years passed. What started as a few buses quietly expanded into thousands. And without drama, Peace Mass Transit grew into something larger, an entire business ecosystem, now known as the Peace Group of Companies. Transport was just the foundation. From there came insurance, logistics, finance, energy, international trade, even a university. Looking back, it's clear now. This was never a grand master plan to build an empire. It was simply a man taking the next responsible step again and again until the road he was on led somewhere extraordinary. When you really look at Sam Onyishi's journey, realize something important. This was never the popular road. There was no applause at the beginning, no crowd cheering him on, no moment where life suddenly became easy. Just a man taking the harder path over and over again. While others were chasing quick wins, he chose responsibility. While many were waiting for perfect conditions, he worked with what he had. And while the world was busy looking for shortcuts, he stayed on a road that demanded patience. That's why his story matters. Not because of how big this mass transit became, but because of how quietly it was built. The road less taken is rarely exciting at the start. It's lonely, it's slow, and most times it doesn't look like success. But it builds something deeper than the hype. It builds skills, it builds character, it builds endurance. And years later, it leads somewhere most people never reached. So if your journey feels slow right now, if it feels unnoticed, if it feels like you're taking longer, maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're just on a road less taken. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone walking that road quietly. Drop a comment. What part stayed with you? And follow this page for more stories of uncommon paths, patient growth, and real outcomes. Because the road less taken doesn't promise speed, it promises depth.